You are listening to The Red Velvet Woman, episode number 4. Welcome to The Red Velvet Woman. This is a podcast for women who want to build a beautiful life after toxic narcissistic relationships. I am obsessed with assisting these women who are on the verge of change to help them transform their lives by getting unstuck, stepping into your power, and unlocking the best version of you, and ultimately fulfilling your potential after breaking free from your narcissistic ex. I am going to help you empower yourself to heal, recover, and redesign your thoughts and energy so that you flourish into the beautiful and amazing person you always were underneath and are going to be again. But this version of you is going to be bigger and better. This is for those babes who are ready to leave their limits at the door and level up. Your life is about to change, so get ready. I have personally gone from confusion to clarity and from survive to thrive. And guess what? So can you. I am your host, Olivia Powell. I'm a life coaching student, a registered nurse and midwife, business owner, YouTuber, and the creator of The Red Velvet Woman. I am so happy that you're here. Let's do this together. Hello, sister friends, and welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about what is narcissism or what is a narcissist, because you've probably heard my story. And if you're not fully aware of what a narcissist is, then this is what's going to be covering that. And no, it's not just someone that takes lots of selfies, just to get that out there to begin with. So it's a good place to kind of start and get a better idea and understanding of what this personality type is and what it looks like. And, you know, there's a lot of information out there about narcissism that's quite harsh. And to be honest with you, it's for good reason. People who cross their path often can be quite hurt, as it is very damaging. And just to let you know, I will be calling it, I have a habit of calling a narcissist a narc, N-A-R-C, just to shorten it. So yeah, it just makes things a little bit easier when I'm saying the word all the time. But yeah, narcissism is something that might be a little bit hard for people to understand or grasp who haven't actually either come in contact with a narcissist before, or doesn't know what a narcissist is, or hasn't actually experienced anything firsthand, or at least witnessed, their damaging ways with someone that they love or someone that they know. So, or, haven't been involved with, or however, you might even work for a narcissist and might only realize it from listening to this or whatever. They're a personality that's quite common and is out there. So when someone calls someone else a narcissist, it doesn't just mean that they're up themselves. All right. It is a term that gets thrown around a lot. But I'm specifically talking about a person with NPD, which is Narcissistic Personality Disorder, and it is a clinical mental health condition and refers to someone having a certain set of characteristics or personality traits, if you will. Hence why it's technically referred to as a personality disorder. And a disorder is a problem or an illness which affects someone's mind or body. So in this case, someone with NPD, it's obviously an issue with their mind, not physically their body. Narcissists have personalities that are and can be very damaging to non-narcissistic people. And they can be quite dangerous because of the characteristics that I'm going to go through with you. And they have an inability to make deep connections or to be loyal or have concern for the well-being of others. And that's why some people consider this personality type to be one of the most dangerous personalities on the planet, because of what I'm going to go through with you. Non-narcissistic people don't think or operate like narcs. Your personality actually affects everything you do in life, and it seeps into every area that you can even possibly imagine. Relationships, work, parenthood, everything. It all comes down to your personality, your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, and so on. Narcissists are actually considered social predators, and it is believed that they are so masterful that they can fool just about anyone. In fact, the term narcissist often gets interchangeably used with psychopath and sociopath. So in saying that, you can have someone who has narcissistic traits without actually having the full-blown disorder. And it's kind of good to think about narcissism being on a spectrum, kind of like you would with like Asperger's and that sort of thing. It's one of those disorders where it's not so black and white. You can be on the lower end of the spectrum, you can be on the higher end of the spectrum. But having the disorder itself is a whole new kettle of fish, because it's not a disorder that's going to be going away anytime soon, unfortunately. Your particular narcissist in your life may or may not display all of the following characteristics, because they might actually possess these in varying degrees, which is what I'm trying to say. But at its core, basically it's characterized by these following things. Someone that's a narcissist is renowned for being selfish or self-serving, even if it means that they need to take advantage of others to get what they want, right? They are extremely arrogant, and it actually surpasses just being like a very confident or overly confident individual. Like they think they are better than other people. They have superficial charm, although you don't always know it at the start. And they have unrealistic and grandiose and an inflated self-esteem. They're known as being very egocentric and actually have delusional, hyper thoughts of their own self-worth. So they do think that they're superior. They do think that they're better than other people, unless they consider that person to be at a higher status than what they are. So whether that person, the other person, have more money than them, be more popular than them, be more beautiful or more powerful, whatever it is, the notion is that the narc is greater than anybody and everybody unless they have those characteristics that they want. And they think everybody else is inferior to them. It's one of those really attractive qualities, isn't it? So when the notion of them being superior or not superior is challenged, the narcissist will often actually react aggressively, even if the matter is not very serious, because they see any sort of dispute as a questioning of their status. This aggressive behavior is actually the cause of a feeling of threat to their ego. And as we all know, a narcissist, I guess what a narcissist will be left with is their ego. It can kind of be like a real reality check if you question them on how good they are. So it's one of those icky things. It just makes me feel a little gross. They're also known to over-exaggerate and lie, and they often lie by omission, by keeping the truth hidden. They often over-exaggerate their achievements, and they show tendencies of being the best at all times in their eyes, by the way. In their head, there is nothing that can beat them down, and that they are superior enough to surpass any hurdle in life by only applying themselves to the task. And this often leads to a falsified image of oneself. So anyone telling a narcissist that he is not capable of doing anything is actually asking for a public scene of aggression, because the narcissist will create one in order to shut you down. Often, if they are unable to accomplish a task, the narcissist will claim that he or she did not try very hard, or they'll blame the other person for not succeeding at whatever that task was. Or maybe they'll even publicly humiliate them and blame that person in front of everybody and be very convincing while doing so. So narcs expect to be constantly praised and admired and respected by others, and they actually have an insatiable hunger for this. Sometimes it can be very noticeable, sometimes it can be very subtle, but either way, that is what they're always wanting. They happen to possess a sense of entitlement, like they naturally deserve more or better than other people just because they're so special, and that only other special people can understand them, because people with the same or higher status as them, they can only be understood by these people because they're apparently better than everybody. I know, you just want to insert a vomit right now. I feel the same way. It's gross. It grosses me out. And they do expect special favors and special treatment. They often think of these non-special people like you and I as inferior, and have a disdain for others who they believe aren't on their level because they're just so high up than everybody else. They also like to think that others are constantly jealous of them, which is kind of funny because narcissists are jealous of others who have a higher status than them, whether it be money, success, profession, whatever. So this is quite a paradox in a way. And this is where this personality type can get a little bit confusing, because some of these characteristics can be a little bit paradoxical in the way that they are. It's kind of hard to explain, but we'll go into more of it. They are known for having a lack of empathy for other people and have a knack for kicking others while they're down. Even though narcissists can actually pretend to be empathetic, they're not. They are missing this emotion. It has somehow missed in their DNA. They aren't actually capable of being genuinely empathetic while they're unaware of their narcissism. They lack the empathy, or it's fake or it's ingenuine. So keep that in mind, because they will try and get you to feel sorry for them. And this is part of their victimhood that they put forward with the abuse cycle that I will once again speak on. They do lack integrity and remorse, and they lack a moral compass, which means they will cheat to win or take advantage of others to get what they want, and they don't even feel bad about it. That is the concerning part. They have deceptive behaviors. A narcissist is like an actor creating fake roles to con someone into believing that they are someone that they are not. So once I I guess you can already see this from the story that I shared with you. He put on a fake persona, got me to fall in love with him. Turns out he wasn't actually that person. So this type of deception does not even faze a narcissist as something that you shouldn't do. Like, it doesn't faze them. They don't even think about this being an issue or that it shouldn't be done. It's just a way of meeting their needs, pretty much. So they are also manipulative, calculated, and they're strategists. As I said, they appear charming at first. They're really good at reading people and getting to the root of that person's weaknesses and exploiting them for the narcissist's own self-gain. They are very good at twisting words. And an example of this is a term called gaslighting, where the narc plays the victim when the narcissist was actually the person that displayed wrongful behavior, but they blame it on you, or they find a way to blame it on you and they shift the blame. And there are many, many, many more abusive and manipulative behaviors such as this, which I have some examples for. An interesting thing is that when I was researching this personality back in the day, they are actually, part of their characteristic is actually being impulsive. They engage in all manners of impulsive actions, whether it be binging, shopping, gambling, drinking, overspending or buying, reckless driving, unprotected sex, ultra-quick business deals, addictions, whatever you can think of. They're usually impulsive decision makers and they tend to only take themselves into consideration. However, they also tend to think that they're above the law and above the consequences from the results of their bad behavior, and they often unintentionally put themselves and sometimes others in danger. Unless, of course, there's some way involved in the law, like, being a policeman, a police officer, a lawyer, a judge, or so on. That's just something to keep in mind. My ex did a law degree. He had a healthy respect for the law, but in every other way of his life, he was very much impulsive with his decision-making, thought he was better than everyone else and all that sort of stuff. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Some narcissists, if they're upset, they might drive erratically or incredibly recklessly or take some sort of other aggressive action. They live on the edge, they take risks, there's a lot of risk-taking behavior, and they lack the self-control necessary to control that behavior in order to attain their goals. They're also known to be emotionally volatile, have a short fuse and a short temper. Another attractive quality, isn't it? You could say something and they could just fly off the handle if they choose to. We'll move on to the next point. Narcissists can also be sexually promiscuous. And I mean that, I'm trying to say it in a nice way, but basically they can be a bit of a womanizer, and they find this easier to do than actually be and develop deep, meaningful relationships and connections. They, as I said, are good at reading people. If they're on the dating scene, they're able to read people and tell people what they want to hear, and then get that instant gratification by having one-night stands or, whatever it is that they want, they can usually do because I guess, in social situations, they can have such finesse in the dating scene, especially if, you're at a club and the girl's been drinking a bit of alcohol and having fun with their friends or whatever. They can be quite suave, sweep in there, take advantage of them sexually, and do that with multiple people, not just one. And in saying that, non-narcissists can do that too, but in this particular context, the personality does suggest that they, are a little bit sexually promiscuous. And I think you know what I'm talking about. This is one of the qualities that really annoys me the most, and it's the fact that the narcissist always thinks that they're right and never wrong. And I'll just tell you right now, that's according to them. And they love to hear the sound of their own voice and their own opinions. And it just makes me want to do like a million eye rolls, because the whole basis of narcissism is a feeling of being superior, and they have this self-enhanced vision of themselves in their mind, and they're used to, I guess, pushing their opinion onto other people, even if it's wrong. So a narcissist will always have the last word to say, no matter how stupid it is or how good it is, because in their head, they think they're Einstein. They think they're fantastic. They think they're intelligent. They think they're extremely smart. They think they're smarter than other people. They think that they can bully people into believing what they say and this sort of thing. And so therefore, they are used to talking a lot and, of course, implying and imposing their decisions and opinions on others. So shy is not a word associated with narcissism. However, the covert narcissist is more of the quiet personality type of narcissism, and they might be more that way inclined. Once again, I'll go into the different types of narcissism on another podcast. So there's some of the characteristics, and they sound kind of exhausting, don't they, to deal with? Very draining. In saying all that negative stuff I've just said, narcissists are often very successful people, and they find themselves in position of power, especially in the workplace, where they have leverage and a level of superiority over other people because of the pyramid type setup of traditional workplaces. In saying that, this doesn't mean that every person who is high up or in a position of power or success are all narcissists. I just want to say that out there right now. In addition to that, not all narcissists are successful, because there are a lot out there who find it hard to work with other people and can't maintain jobs because they think they're just too good for it, or they think they're too beneath them to work with and they're just too good to be around them, and their bragging and their arrogance actually interferes with the attainment of the success that they're wanting and the recognition that they so badly desire in front of other people. So it can go either way. This is an extreme personality. It's full of extremes. It's full of paradoxes on both ends of the spectrum. But they often do, work their way up the ladder because they hide behind a mask and they protect themselves and they project themselves to be a different person than who they really are underneath all that crap. And even some hide behind what is perceived as doing good for the community. So people like doctors, pastors, teachers, lawyers, especially politicians, you name it. This is because they're able to sell and talk about themselves and project themselves in a really positive light. And they usually have high expectations for themselves and others. They believe they can achieve anything and everything, and if they don't, they just blame others, and that's their excuse for lack of success. However, the interesting thing here is that they can set very unrealistic goals for other people, but very realistic goals for themselves, so it's easier to achieve. Or their goals for themselves might be a little bit lofty or a bit vague because it's easier to achieve and brag about. It sounds fair, doesn't it? Not. Narcissists also often expect others to go along with their plans and their ideas, regardless of whether it's good or bad. You're pretty much forced to go along with it wholeheartedly, regardless of what you think or what your position is. This is the expectation of them. That would make for a really fun boss, wouldn't it? Basically, they fantasize about greatness. They fantasize about excellence. They want to be revered. They want to have a lot of power. They want to be successful. They want to be really attractive and wealthy. All these higher level sort of things. And they can either project this outward or they can project this inward. Outward projection of this sort of narcissistic behavior is actually known, and I quote, as overt narcissism. So the way I think of it is overt starts with an O and outward. So they go together. So this is where the narcissism is actually vocalized and it's obvious and it's extroverted. They're kind of easy to spot. Once you know what you're looking for, you can kind of see it and you're like, gotcha. They're an overt narcissist. Whereas inward narcissism is known as covert. You got to think of them as undercover agents. It's all internal. They're quieter and often harder to detect. In my particular case, Hugo was an overt narcissist, the loud kind, but he did have some covert traits, which is the quieter type of narcissism. So narcissists place people and position people in their lives for a reason or for a particular purpose. So make no mistake, if you're in close contact with a narcissist right now, there is a reason for it. You might not know what it is yet, but you'll figure it out. They want something from you, whether it be attention or appreciation or affection, admiration, respect, financial gain. They look for people to supply them with this stuff because they need this in order to survive. It's not just on a want basis, but a needs basis. The thing is, if you don't continually give these things to them, they just won't waste their time or energy on you and will eventually cut you and other people out of their lives and get it from someone else who will give it to them. Unless they want something from you again, in which case they will circle back around to you. It's very purposeful, driven behavior. I guess you could think of them as like a leech or a vampire or a parasite in the way that they just want to suck out as much blood from you as they possibly can, and they won't stop until they're full, but then they'll come back later for more when they're hungry again. In the narcissist's eyes, or from their perspective, life is all about them. For the narc, it's all about their image, their appearance, their reputation, and they often exaggerate their own achievements by blowing it out of proportion to make themselves sound and appear better and get others to kind of think the same way because it makes them look better and feel better. Even if they haven't actually done that, they will still do it anyway. It's quite funny really, because insecure people do this, right? And this brings me to my next point, because which is possibly one of the most important ones of all of them. And you may not even believe your ears when I tell you this, but Ironically, they appear to have over-the-top confidence when in actual fact, it is the exact opposite. At the heart, and I'm going to let you in on a secret here, at the heart of narcissism is a deep-rooted insecurity. And I'm going to say that again. At the heart of narcissism, at the very core, at the very low level of this disorder, they are super, super deeply insecure. And it is this insecurity that drives them to conceal and cover it up with all their boastfulness and their bragging and all of that. I call it the Band-Aid effect because it's not fixing the issue. They're just covering it and trying to fill the hole inside of them. And this insecurity is not the same for all narcissists. It comes from different places for different people. So it can come from a childhood trauma or a failure or from poor parenting, whether it be a neglectful parent or a helicopter parent, or nothing at all. Or it can come from a genetic predisposition or something like that. An interesting thing about this personality type is that they actually get easily offended. And I'll explain what I mean. If you insult their intelligence or whatever it is that they hold dear, they will bite back viciously and attack you in some way. Because these are the things that they use to make themselves feel good. It's what they use to attempt that empty hole inside. And they're actually really easily embarrassed as well. In fact, they cannot stand it. This is their kryptonite, so to speak, or their Achilles heel. And I know it might seem shocking and perhaps even hard to believe, but if you're not convinced, all you need to do is just start remembering and start recalling a time where they've bitten back at you or they've viciously attacked you in some way, whether it be verbally or whatever, and think about what triggered that. Usually it'll be because you've had an opinion or you've had given some feedback on something, and it turns out they actually hold that particular thing really dear, and they've perceived that as being threatening or insultive. I guess the takeaways that I've wanted to give you guys today was the basic characteristics of a narcissist and the things to look for. They can be a bit of a puzzle when it comes to deciphering their behavior and their mentality, but these are just kind of like the overall points I want you to kind of get. A narcissist is basically someone that is highly selfish, who only want their needs and their wants met. It's at the forefront of their minds all the time. There is extreme arrogance. They are delusional with their self-worth. They think they're superior and better than everybody. They expect to be constantly praised and admired and respected by others. They possess a sense of entitlement because they think that they're special people. There's a deep-rooted insecurity there. They are actually really jealous people. They are deceptive, impulsive, have bad tempers. They lack or fake empathy, and they lack a moral compass. They are also highly manipulative, calculated, cunning, and abusive. They're strategists, and they always think they're right, and they're never wrong. You might have discovered another narcissist in your life or listened to this. You might have thought, oh my God, the person that I work with is like that. Or I know a family friend that's like that. Or you know what, my cousin is like that. Or you might have just realized, I knew there was something wrong with my ex and this is what it was. Like, holy moly, this is insane. Identifying and being aware is kind of the first step to help you in the long run. And you'll probably find it much easier to detect. You'll just start noticing things. You'll start paying more attention. You'll start connecting the dots and realizing these things that are adding up, and behaviors or characteristics that used to once confuse you start to become a little bit more clear, and you're like, that's interesting. I just remembered such and such, or A, B, C, D actually related to X, that sort of thing. So I hope today's podcast has been helpful with that, and I would love to hear from you once again. So have a beautiful day. Look after yourselves. Much love from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave me a review on iTunes. I ask this because your review will help the success of this show so that it has the potential to reach many more women out there who would benefit from hearing this message, as podcasts have an algorithm too, just like Facebook and Instagram and other platforms out there. If you enjoyed this podcast or something has resonated with you, then be sure to subscribe so you're informed of every new episode that is released and so you don't miss a thing. And share the love by passing this on to someone you know who would benefit from hearing the free content of this podcast. I know that I personally would have benefited from hearing something like this when I was going through my own healing and recovery journey, and it would have propelled me forward further to feel a lot better sooner. So for more beyond this podcast, find the Red Velvet Woman Facebook page ask to be added to the exclusive group, and come hang out with me on Instagram, where you will find uplifting, thought-provoking quotes and pretty pictures, as well as my link to my YouTube videos. If you want to reach me, you can do so by emailing me at theredvelvetwoman@gmail.com. Until next time, much love, Olivia. Thanks for listening.